around kind of sporting structures and the way talent works, brings us to light is, really looking at some of the issues and concerns with talent identification. So sports scientists have a great deal of concern about the ability of these evaluation methods to distinguish between more talented young athletes, particularly at that pre-pubescent, child age, and those who are less talented. Because how do you know, at age 8, 9, that they're going to be, the next elite performer? What dictates that? Performance and skill level at an early age is not always an accurate indicator of performance as an adult. As children grow physically and mature, psychologically and cognitive development occurs and engage in opportunities that can radically influence their skill development. So just because they're the best performer at age 10, 11 doesn't mean they're going to be the best performer at age 18, 19, 20. So there could be people who are kind of dropping from activities and dropping from that elite structure who potentially would be better than the ones kept in it. So an example, obviously, we've looked at is considering those late maturing, children, younger in relative age, but maybe overlooked when talent is evaluated because of their size and general physical abilities and sport-specific skills. Or maybe a combination of these that are kind of not as developed as maybe some of these more mature performers. So the problem is that we're maybe overlooking like young athletes with a great deal of talent because it's difficult to assess the potential when it's still dormant and not overtly apparent yet. I guess it's having an understanding of the kind of motivation of these national sporting organisations to engage in a systematic talent identification initiative to match young athletes with sport activities. The benefits of these organisations may also benefit that young athletes who are fitted within a sport based on their physical characteristics and skills. So it's around ensuring we're developing the resources to ensure developing talent isn't limited. So national organisations such as schools, club programmes, have openings for teams. So evaluation can be continuous, and there's various different methods of talent ID. Not just one method. Right, this is the academy structure, and we're just going to look at talent within this academy structure. It may be someone playing in a school structure at age 13, 14 who wasn't picked up at age 8, 9, who may be looked at a future point in time. So it's allowing and having that systematic approach and resources and infrastructure to allow that talent to be identified and worked with. So I think the following two images basically demonstrates looking at that kind of age specific things. Who, if I was looking at Shane Williams compared to Jonah Lomu at the age of 16, who would have been invested in? I think we all know what the answer would be. But obviously, with the passion, desire and motivation and skill level that Shane demonstrated, he became a talented and elite expertise or elite performer in his sport, even though he was told that, on numerous occasions that he would never make it because he was too small. So it's around, investment. And another example, of this kind of where talent may have been missed, but then later, flourished in a massive way is Michael Jordan. He actually was not selected to play for his high school varsity team because he was at that point only 5'11" and considered too small to play at this level, and he was asked to join the junior varsity team. Well, you would think that he would have been in that elite level performance team in his high school level, but seen as the fact he went on to win 6 NBA championships along with a plethora of other awards and titles across his career. So sport is generally quite poor at predicting future success. So there's no guarantee that the best 12-year-old player will be the best athlete in latter years. Talented athletes need to have the potential to develop, and talent ID needs to focus on athletes that have the potential to become elite performers, and by increasing that talent pool. I think the culture and the kind of history within, particularly in the UK, we've always accepted these efficiency drivers. We always select maybe too early and always have this culture that the bigger is better. With the examples I've given of not talent not being picked up at an early age, I think Simon Kjærs is a great example of this. So for those of you who don't know this story, in 2004 a new a Danish football team set out to establish Scandinavia's first youth soccer academy. As a new club, it didn't have the pick of the litter in terms of Danish soccer talent, which went to the kind of more established clubs. And as part of their first team, they were players short. With the season about to start, they could not fill their kind of roster, and they actually settled on a player that none of them actually wanted in the team, and it was one of the managers of the club's sons, who actually then paid for him to play. according to kind of the coaches, no one really wanted the boy in the team, or Simon in the team, but they just give him the position to ensure that the father stayed within the club. Well, in 2010, Sam Kjær, pictured previously, was actually the starting centre-back in Denmark's first game of the 2010 World Cup in South Africa against the Netherlands. And since 2004, he's appeared 30 times for Denmark and played club soccer, all over the world, which is not too shabby for a child who no one wanted at age 15. In terms of, more kind of background to the story, the club director pulled all the 8 coaching staff, during the time that Simon was playing in that academy structure, and had it on a piece of paper and actually asked them to write down 5 of their current players that are most likely to advance in the next 5 years. None of them, when they unsealed the envelope, 5 years later, had actually predicted that he would be on that list, and then that actually we would be sold for $6 million in a transfer fee. So not a single one of those highly qualified UEFA licensed coaches, even had Kjær on their list or radar. So if these highly trained professional coaches, can't say with certainty who will or will not make it even at 15 years of old, it's a really important story which points out, that it's making sure that we have larger talent pools and we work with all athletes, not just the talented ones that perceive to be talented at age 8 or 9 or 10 years of age, will allow us to get a better development in the future in terms of performance. So what are the benefits of Talent ID? So proper talent identification reduces time, money and energy and material which is spent within that sector. So, linking back to this, kind of the key thing to consider, is it nature versus nurture? A significant number of potential talented athletes are never able to realise their potential because they have never been presented with the opportunity to do so. Based on what we've looked at on Talent ID and predicting talent, I'd actually like you to complete the following task. You're coaching a group of 11 to 13-year-old boys in football. You're asked to predict from this group those are the boys that you think will become elite academy players in 5 to 7 years' time. What would you use as your basic predictors and recommendations? So ultimately, I'm asking you to think about the key theory we've covered around, what makes a talented athlete, those key areas that have been discussed, and how are you going to use these different elements to pick out who your talented athletes are to become those elite performers. To reinforce the key points, we're looking at those physical, psychological, sociological, physiological and intangible characteristics.